Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of my pop vlog. In today's episode I'm going to talk about Mass Effect 3, which is one of my current game obsessions. So without further delay, let's get this started. So a little bit about the Mass Effect series as a whole. The games are all called sci-fi role-playing shooters, or sci-fi RPS for short. And so what role-playing means, it stems from like the board game role-playing games, like with the dice and stuff. But in video games it's hardly like that, if ever, anymore. So for Mass Effect, the story, the RPS stuff that comes in is that you get to kind of create your character, choose a class, whether they're like a soldier or more like kind of a stealthy soldier. They're all still soldiers, but just depending on like what you want your gameplay to be. You also get to make choices in level progression, like as you're leveling up your character, and so that's what the role-playing part is. It's a shooter game because unlike most RPGs, they actually use guns, and it's kind of a sci-fi setting. The other thing that is role-playing in style is the fact that the whole game kind of plays out through quests, or what was traditionally called quests, but in this game they're actually called missions because, like I said, you're a soldier. That's the only other kind of RPG element. Oh, and you also get to like upgrade your weapons, so like your guns, your different type of guns, you can manage them and upgrade them in different ways in the various games. Except for Mass Effect 2. But in Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 3 you can. So the Mass Effect series and its kind of developer, BioWare, the developing company that makes Mass Effect, are kind of famous in the video game industry for their story-driven games, and I think they're probably one of my favorite game publishers out there, just because of such a strong emphasis on story. And the Mass Effect series is really famous for having these really enriched universe and this great set of characters and stuff like that. And what's unique to the BioWare type of games, I guess, in general, is that you have control over your character and you choose what kind of personality and what kind of actions they take in the game. So throughout the whole game you either have good or bad options, and so depending on whether you do primarily good or primarily bad things throughout the game, that directly impacts the story that you get. So there is inevitably many different kind of endings to the many different choices that you can make throughout the Mass Effect games. And then the choices you make in the original game, Mass Effect, carry over to the second one, which carry over to the third one. So you get this great big long kind of story arc where all the decisions you made throughout the game are kind of coming together. And that's where we're at with Mass Effect 3. So that's kind of why I'm so obsessed with it. In Mass Effect, you can choose not only what your character looks like, but you can also choose their sex. And as I said, you can choose their class and all that other kind of stuff too. And depending on which sex you choose, that also determines what kind of romantic relationships you can have throughout the game, among other things. The choices are kind of exponential. You can play it in so many different variations, and that's what makes it really awesome. So in total, I have played through 6 characters. I have 6 characters saved right now. So each game takes about 40 hours to play. Well, I should say each character takes about 40 hours to play per game. So that's 6 characters times 40 times 2, because I've only played through several because I've only played through 1 on Mass Effect 3 out of my 6 characters. So that's close to 500 hours already on this series, which sounds crazy when I put it like that. But it's 500 hours over the course of 6 or 5 years or something like that, because I got this game when I was the original back when I was a freshman. So I mean, it's been progressing for quite a while now, which also makes it kind of sad because it's coming to this inevitable end. And so anyway, but enough about all the choices and stuff. More about kind of the game setting or whatever, because that's what I kind of want to focus on. I'm going to kind of bog down in detail. So the Mass Effect universe kind of takes place 200 years in the future from now, where humans have gained the ability of space travel. So we went out into space, and then we found all these other galactic kind of races, and they've all kind of formed a galactic kind of council. And so that's where the game kind of takes place. So it's been a couple generations since humanity joined the galactic civilization, but we're still kind of the underdogs and the newcomers, but we're very kind of an aggressive race compared to all the other ones. And so your character that you create is the first human Spectre. So what all that means is that you're part of this kind of elite secretive military group that reports directly to the Galactic Council. And so throughout the first game, what you are uncovering is kind of this mystery around this ancient race of machines called the Reapers that come every 50,000 years and wipe out all organic life in the galaxy. Over the course of the games, then, it's your fight against them returning. So the whole point, so we're finally getting to the whole point of this video. I want to talk about this new decision that BioWare and the developers of Mass Effect 3 decided to make for this current version of Mass Effect 3. So for the first time in the Mass Effect series, they have finally included gay and lesbian characters. For the first time in the series, your male Shepard can have homosexual relationships, or you can choose to have homosexual relationships with your male characters in the game finally. So for the first two games, your female characters had the option to romance a person from the Asari race, which they're kind of interesting because they are monogendered / monosex. They appear to be blue-skinned female humanoid type alien race. And what's interesting about them is that they have the ability to mate with any other race in the whole galaxy. They can rewire their nervous system or something like that, and all they have to do is kind of go into these like trances with someone of another race, and that randomizes the DNA and they can have children that way. But all their children are this blue-skinned, female-looking alien race. And so your female characters in the first two games had the options to get with, or to romance one of these type of characters. But never before had there been like straight lesbians or straight gay men or anything like that in the whole games. And never have you been able to have a male character that has bisexual or gay tendencies or relationships or whatever. It was like literally like the week before the game Mass Effect 3 came out, and I found out that they were going to include a gay romance option, so I got really excited. But then I was like, oh, I need to create a brand new character and play through Mass Effect 2 and 1 with, so that I can do these gay options. Because all my other characters have been paired up, or I've already romanced someone, or they're kind of like involved in these relationships from the first two games. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I ran through and beat the first two games in like 2 weeks or something like that. It was already after Mass Effect 3 came out, but I was still playing through him. So it's been rather exciting, the whole prospect of being able to romance and have gay options. And what's interesting is that the kind of gay romance options in the game are with characters that are exclusively gay and a character that's exclusively lesbian that are aboard your kind of spaceship with you. I guess I've heard that there's kind of some problems with the whole including gay romance, not only just like the controversy of including, you know, LGBT options, but the whole problem with the lesbian in the game, I forget what her name is, Trainer is her last name, but I forget. She's like a communication specialist aboard your ship, so she's not someone that you take in your squad and go on missions with, but she's someone that like works on your ship with you. The problem is with her is that they've decided to portray her in kind of a softcore porn type situation. The romantic scene with her takes place in a shower at the end, so a lot of people are kind of upset with that because it's like, oh, it's just softcore porn, it's, you know, just for the teenage male fanboys that play the game. It's not actually progressive in any kind of way. There's not too big of a problem with the gay male character that they introduced. They kind of hit you over the head with it, like immediately, like you guys like shake hands, and he's like, oh, and by the way, I recently lost my husband in the war. And so, because eventually the galaxy goes to war. I just kind of spoiled that for you, but whatever. But yeah, so they kind of hit you over the head with it. What was I gonna say? So they kind of hit you over the head with it, but the whole kind of story between you and the Lieutenant Cortez is kind of endearing because it's all about helping him kind of move on and get past the loss of his husband. So you kind of, you take him aside and be like, oh, because he works way too hard, like he's always like fixing the ship or something or other, and you convince him to take some time off. So he goes to like this big city, and you know, then you go and talk to him, and then you kind of convince him to go to a memorial for people who have died or gone missing in the war. And so slowly you kind of like help him get over and mourn the loss of his husband. And then I haven't got there yet, so I don't really know how it pans out because I haven't looked up spoilers for this. But now you're kind of moving on, and he wants to have drinks with you. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen there and how it's going to lead to like a sexual kind of place. Because like right now I'm just like, oh, you just lost your husband and blah blah blah, so it kind of feels like, you know, if it went, like immediately goes into the sex, I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, it's just like taking advantage of someone who's like mourning their loss of their husband. Anyway, you really do get that like caught up in the game. So Mass Effect is really good like that. You like really get caught up in like the decisions you're making, and I like playing the evil kind of bad options, but at the same time, like I really enjoy playing the good options far more, because it's like, oh, I don't have to think about all the immoral things that I'm doing. And there's only like a few games out there that I've ever played that have like gotten me that like riled up with like emotion. So Mass Effect has been one. Heavy Rain was another one, which that's a whole other game and genre, but some games are just super freaking intense. So to bring it all in and kind of get a message across, it's really cool that BioWare has decided to kind of include gay and lesbian options for your character, and including strictly gay and lesbian characters like in the Mass Effect universe. It really shows that the gaming industry is starting to pay attention to the fact that there are LGBT and female and other kind of minorities that are playing these games, and so they're kind of, so they're giving us options, which I think is really cool. Kind of, they tackle issues of race, and they tackle issues of obviously LGBT stuff, and how there's really not an issue anymore, because you have the race like the Asari, who are kind of monogendered, and then you have humans where it seems practically normal that, someone will refer to themselves, or refer to their husband, or to their wife, or etc. in the game, which happens quite frequently in Mass Effect 3, actually. There is a whole community out there of LGBT gamers. You can find those like, you can find them on Twitter. There's like websites and stuff like that. And I'm a part of one website. I don't even remember what it's called right now. It's like gaygamer.net or something. On one hand, it's kind of this gay gamer type of niche blog where they talk about gaming news and stuff like that. And then on the other hand, there's the whole like forum kind of message board section where people can trade like their gamer tags and stuff like that, and have like game nights and stuff over the internet and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of cool to see that community grow and be taken seriously by the gaming industry, which have started to include with Mass Effect 3, and as well as some of the other BioWare games and a couple other games which I just don't remember off the top of my head, and including LGBT characters and options. So thanks for watching this episode of my Pop Blog. I really appreciate your comments and feedback. If you know of any other LGBT, gay, lesbian characters in games, or options for role-playing characters to play as LGBT people, let me know. So, thanks for watching again.